Did you know that you can learn a lot about your childhood by understanding your love languages? Stick with me, and by the end of this video, you are going to know why you receive and give love in specific ways and what you can do to learn about the childhood you had. When it comes down to the 5 love languages, what Gary Chapman found was that it's not so much that people aren't given love, it's more about how we perceive love. So somebody could be loving us all day long, and we might not feel it if it's not the way that we perceive it. So very quickly, the 5 love languages are, number 1, gifts. If you have a loved one and you feel so loved by them when they give you gifts, then gifts might be one of your main love languages. The next one is physical touch. If you feel loved by your loved one when they touch you, it could be as simple as a hand on the shoulder or maybe a hug or embrace, then your main love language might be physical touch. The next one is quality time. If you perceive love by those that you love when they're just with you, it might be game nights or sitting on the couch watching a movie, then your main love language might be quality time. Next, we have acts of service. If you feel loved by those around you when they are doing things for you, helping you out, then your main love language might be acts of service. And the last one is words of affirmation. If you want to hear it, all those yummy words that they have to say about you to tell you how amazing and wonderful and loved you are, then your main love language might be words of affirmation. So how do we develop these love languages? We all have all 5 of them in one way or another, but we tend to gravitate towards 1 or 2, which are the main ways that we want to feel loved by those in our life. One idea is that whatever we didn't receive as a child is now our main love language. So let's dive in and see what that might look like. So if your main love language is gifts, then it's possible that your parents or caregivers didn't give you many gifts. Or it might be that the ones you got weren't really what you wanted. Maybe money was tight and you wanted this big thing, but they could only afford this. Whatever it was, if you felt like you were getting the things that you didn't want or weren't getting anything, or maybe you felt like the gifts you got weren't thoughtful or meaningful in some way, then it is very possible that as you grew up, your main love language became gifts because you really wanted to know that the person was thinking of you, that the gift was meaningful, and you really wanted to have those things. If your main love language is physical touch, it's possible that your parents or caregivers didn't hug or cuddle you enough, or otherwise be physically affectionate with you. Maybe your parents were busy working, or you only had one parent, and so they had very limited time and weren't able to give you the amount of snuggles that you needed. You may have also received touch you didn't like inappropriate touch, or maybe, for example, you and your siblings always wrestled with and hurt one another. And so you got used to your touch being something that you didn't like, and now that's something that you're really wanting in your relationships with a loved one. If your love language is quality time, then it's possible that you spent a lot of your childhood alone, whether because you were an only child or your parents weren't available because they were busy working. Or maybe you just like to do different things than the rest of your family. Maybe you were the one that wanted to be outside and they wanted to be inside. Or your ways of connecting just didn't match up, so you spent your time doing other things on your own. Or maybe you had multiple siblings and you had to compete with them for time, energy, and attention. Or maybe it's possible you had divorced parents or a parent who worked a lot that meant you couldn't see enough of them. And so now as an adult, you really crave that quality time with someone you love. If your love language is acts of service, you may have had to always do things for yourself or had to start doing things for yourself and others. This happens a lot with kids whose parents have to work a lot, where they become very self-sufficient. Maybe you're one of those people who is so used to doing everything that now your love language is all about people doing things for you. And if your main love language is words of affirmation, it's possible that you were often criticized or critiqued for your failings when you were growing up. Maybe you didn't hear verbal praise when you did something well. And so needing to hear less of the bad stuff and more of that good stuff has caused you to really crave words of affirmation as an adult. So what does it all mean? It's not to say that our parents did something wrong or we're doing something wrong, but it's all for knowledge, for a practice of self-awareness. When we are practicing self-awareness, it's about learning to better understand why we feel the way we feel, why we behave in certain ways, so that we can look at our lives and decide, is this something I want to keep? Or is this something I want to change? It's never about pointing a finger at someone else or about feeling guilt or shame about why we are the way we are. It's simply, this is what we've got to work with. Do I want to keep it or change it? This awareness gives us the opportunity to choose how we want to show up in this world, the freedom to change the things we don't like about ourselves, and to be the conscious creators of our lives. So here's the funny thing. When I look back on my life and I'm looking at all of these reasons why my love languages might be the way they are, I think about quality time and physical touch. Those are the ones that make me feel so loved in my life. And when I look at why that might be the case, what comes up for me is actually very loving memories. So one of my favorite memories is quality time and physical touch with my mom. I can remember sitting on the bed before bedtime and she was reading me a book, and I could feel the softness of her sweater on my face as I'm snuggled up under her shoulder, and we're spending this amazing quality time where she is 100% there for me. And I remember in that moment knowing that I was loved. So I give you all this information to invite you to look around in your own past, look at what you might have been lacking or needing, but also look at what you really did get during those formative years to really understand, are you making up for something that you needed, or are you growing and expanding on something that was already there? That choice is also yours. Thank you so much for joining this ray of sunshine. If you like this video, please head over and watch our next video. What are the 5 love languages? See you over there.